Yo, everybody, what is up? Welcome back into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show, guys. Today, I'm going to be giving you my Week 3 running back rankings. That's right, guys. 2 weeks of the fantasy football season already in the books. Pretty crazy how fast the football season goes by. It's because we're having such a good time watching football. It just kind of flies by really fast. Anyway, guys, we have more information to work with now that we've seen 2 weeks of football, so we can make more informed decisions and increase our point totals throughout the year and lead ourselves to victory and getting that fantasy trophy and winning some money. All right, guys? So I'm going to get right into my running back rankings, but if you haven't already, click the subscribe button below and give me a like. That's going to help me grow my channel. I do appreciate it very much, guys. All right, guys, I'm going to get right into my number 1 running back, which, no surprise to many of you, is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Guys, Christian McCaffrey, he is the best asset in fantasy football still and probably will be for the whole season, barring an injury. Playing against a run defense in Houston that is not very good. He should be able to run all over him. He's only scored 1 touchdown through the first 2 weeks of the season. That number should go up, guys. This dude scores a lot of touchdowns. Touchdowns can be a little bit, random in the first few weeks of the season because the offenses aren't really clicking yet. Look for him to get in the end zone pretty much almost every week. This dude is a touchdown machine. He's going to give you 100-yard performances almost every week. Because he's such a, he's a dual threat running back. He catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. A lot of weeks he's going to, get you 100 yards just on the ground. And then when you combine, him seeing 7-8 targets a week like he does. I mean, the dude is just an absolute fantasy monster. He's the locked-in number 1 running back, all right? Number 2, guys, Derrick Henry. Boy, Derrick Henry had himself a week, guys. 3 touchdowns, 150-plus yards. The dude is pretty much unstoppable and matchup-proof. You're playing him in Week 3 without even any hesitation whatsoever. Number 3, Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's had a pretty good season. He's got a couple touchdowns. He had a big week. He had over 100 yards rushing in Week 2, and the Minnesota Vikings are leaning on Dalvin Cook just as much as they always have. This is a run-first offense, and Dalvin Cook is going to go off all season long. He's another matchup-proof running back, and he's going to give you consistent fantasy production throughout the year. He's a high-floor, high-ceiling player. It's a locked-in and loaded number 1. Alvin Kamara had a little bit of a slow week this past week, guys. Against Carolina, but it's not a big deal. Alvin Kamara is a volume hog running back. We saw, in Week 1 he had 20 carries, which was his second most carries total in his entire career. So the dude is going to be getting a lot of volume this year in the rushing game, combined with the dual threat that he has, catching passes out of the backfield. The dude is going to have a monster fantasy season like he always does. They're playing New England, who has a pretty average run defense, and he should be able to run all over these guys, catch a few passes, and get in the end zone. You're playing Alvin Kamara Week 3. Aaron Jones, my goodness gracious, did this dude have a bounce-back week in Week 2. 4 touchdowns against the Lions. 3 of those touchdowns were receiving touchdowns. Guys, I don't know the last time I saw a running back get 3 receiving touchdowns in a game, but it must have been a long time ago because I don't think I've ever seen it. This dude is one of the best weapons in fantasy football. He is an absolute dual-threat machine running back who can run efficiently, catch passes. The dude can haul in 7-8 passes a game, and this dude gets more receiving touchdowns than some running backs get targets in a game. So it's just absolutely insane. This dude is a locked-in number 1 starter for the rest of the year. I don't think he's going to go off against San Francisco the way he did against Detroit, but he still has a good chance of getting in the end zone and getting you 100 yards. So you're starting Aaron Jones in Week 3. Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is going to be a consistent running back all season, guys. The dude is on a very efficient offense. He might be the most talented running back in football, and he's got an elite offensive line. This team puts up tons of points and is going to do so every week. Nick Chubb's a locked-in number 1 starter. The Bears have a pretty good run defense, but I'm not worried about it. This is a run-first attack that is they're going to lean on the run no matter what, guys. So Nick Chubb's always going to get his volume. The efficiency is always going to be there because he's a super elite talent. So you're starting Nick Chubb in Week 3. Joe Mixon had a little bit of a down week, guys, in Week 2. Not to worry. He looks to bounce back at Pittsburgh, and I think he will. Look, this guy has seen 20-plus carries in both Week 1 and 2. He had 29 carries in Week 1, 20 carries in Week 2, and there's no reason to think that volume is going to go down because They insist on giving Joe Mixon his volume, and he's still a young running back. He's in his 5th year in the NFL, and he's got an elite talent. The Bengals' offensive line is definitely better than it was last year. It could still has a little bit some holes in it, and it needs improvement, in some aspects, but it's a lot better than it was a year ago when Mixon and Joe Burrow got hurt. As long as Joe Burrow is healthy, Joe Mixon should be an efficient fantasy running back and very consistent throughout the year. You're starting week 3. Austin Ekeler against Kansas City. Austin Ekeler definitely bounced back in the pass catching department in week 2. He caught 9 receptions against the Cowboys. I don't think that's too much of a surprise. The Cowboys defense has some holes in it, although they did look a little bit better against against the LA Chargers than I thought they would look. Austin Ekeler still had himself a pretty good game, and he should be a consistent running back / wide receiver. I'm just going to call him what he is. He's a running back and a wide receiver at the same time. So he's going to be a consistent running back / wide receiver for the entire fantasy season. The volume is there in the run game. Anything that he doesn't get in the run game volume-wise, he's going to make up for in the passing game. So this dude's always going to give you a good chance every single week at 100-plus all-purpose yards, and he's going to score a lot of touchdowns this year. I'm very excited about Austin Ekeler this year. It's a high-scoring Kansas City game, meaning lots of passes to Austin Ekeler out of the backfield, like always, and he's probably going to go off. So you're starting Austin Ekeler week 3. Antonio Gibson. I wouldn't panic on Antonio Gibson, guys. The efficiency has been there. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry in the young season. The dude's a very good running back. They're still going to lean on him. The only reason that he didn't have a good weeks really in week 1 and 2 is because he didn't score a touchdown, and that's going to change. Antonio Gibson will find the end zone plenty this year, guys. J.D. McKissic took the touchdown from him last week against the New York Giants. That's not going to continue to happen. I mean, McKissic only had 4 carries in that game. He only had 1 carry in week 1, so he's not going to be stealing a significant amount of Antonio Gibson's volume. So I wouldn't worry about McKissic cutting into his production too much. It's just that Antonio Gibson owners got a little bit unlucky this past week with McKissic taking his touchdown. But from a season-long standpoint, Antonio Gibson's going to get 85+% of the carries on this team, deeming him a solid, locked-in, number 1 workhorse running back, and you could rely on him for consistent fantasy production throughout the rest of the year. All right, Damian Harris. Damian Harris has been a volume hog this year, guys. He had 23 carries in week 1. He had 16 carries in week 2. The efficiency has been there with over 4.2 yards a carry. There's no reason to think he can't continue to do this. Belichick is a smart coach, and he knows that, running the football, if you have a beast running back like Damian Harris, is one of the deadliest weapons in football because you can control the clock. So they're going to continue to feed Damian Harris the rock, and in games where they have leads, this is going to be a huge advantage. I don't think they're going to have a lead against New England. I think they're going to be playing from behind. But even so, Damian Harris is going to get his volume every week, regardless of game script. So you're starting him in week 3. All right, moving on to my 11 through 20. Ezekiel Elliott kind of split the carries with Tony Pollard in week 2. It's really hard to diagnose what this means going forward for Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know that it's going to necessarily be like that every week, but it certainly could be. So we're going to have to monitor this going forward. But he's still in an extremely dynamic offense. He's an elite running back. The Cowboys' offensive line is in actually pretty darn good shape right now with the healthy Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. So we got to plug Zeke into our lineup in our top 15 here until further notice. If we see that him and Pollard are going to split the carries 50-50, he is going to drop significantly in fantasy stock. But it's only 1 week, guys. We can't make any rash decisions and drop him too low yet. We got to see what happens going forward. So you're starting Zeke in week 3. Darrell Henderson Jr. had a little bit of I think it was a rib injury last week. Either way, I know that he got hurt, and so Sony Michel came in and had almost as many rushing attempts as Darrell Henderson. But according to most people, Darrell Henderson is going to be playing in week 3. So as of now, you're starting him in your lineups. And here's what I want you guys to do. Okay, guys, if Darrell Henderson is ruled out and Sony Michel is given the lead workhorse role, you are literally going to plug Sony Michel right in here as the number 12 running back on the week. Literally just straight up replace Darrell Henderson, because these guys in their career have been very similar in efficiency. They've both averaged 4.3 yards a carry in their career, and Sony Michel has an even bigger sample size. So Sony Michel can do anything Darrell Henderson can do, and possibly better. It's just that right now it's Darrell Henderson's backfield. So if Henderson is ruled out and Michel is the lead workhorse back, you're going to plug him right in here behind Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, number 13, guys, Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has been pretty efficient this year. He hasn't gone off, and had any huge fantasy performances yet, but that will come because he's getting the volume. He's playing a Dallas team in week 3 that still has a defense that's really trying to figure out what its identity is. So Miles Sanders has a good chance of having a big week and busting out some huge numbers against the Cowboys. So you're starting Miles Sanders. David Montgomery's had a solid start to the season. He had a really good week 1. Playing Cleveland is a little bit of a tough matchup, but this is a very talented running back who had a strong ending to his season last year and a good start to the 2021 season. So there's no reason to think that he isn't going to continue this momentum and be pretty consistent every week from a volume and efficiency standpoint. So you're going to be starting David Montgomery in week 3. Okay, Chris Carson against Minnesota. It looks like this is more of a pass-happy offense, I think, than we expected it to be. I mean, I don't know why we're surprised. I mean, they have 2 of the best receivers in football in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So the fact that this is a pass-happy offense really shouldn't surprise us too much. It's just that we know that Pete Carroll has liked to lean on Chris Carson in the run game in the past. With that being said, it's kind of a trade-off because Chris Carson is going to have even more scoring opportunities as efficient as this offense has been than we thought at the beginning of the season. So his volume might be down a little bit, but that's made up for by the fact that he's going to have more chances to get into the end zone. So he's still going to be a very efficient fantasy running back. So you're starting him in week 3 against Minnesota. Okay, guys, Saquon Barkley. Look for Saquon Barkley to actually have a pretty good week this week. I'm not big on him from a season-long standpoint this year just because his offensive line is absolutely trash. But he's still a very talented running back, and Atlanta just has a really, really bad defense. Pass defense is terrible. Run defense is terrible. There's no reason that Saquon Barkley shouldn't be able to run all over these guys, even with a bad offensive line. So you're starting Saquon Barkley in week 3 simply due to the matchup. Okay, Najee Harris, guys, has not been very efficient so far. I'm quite disappointed in Najee Harris. I think a lot of Najee Harris owners aren't too happy right now. He saved his performance in week 2 with a touchdown reception, which was cool. But his efficiency has been absolutely terrible. He's only averaging right around 3.2 yards a carry in the young fantasy season, and this is just not very good, guys. His efficiency is not there. The Pittsburgh offense has been a little bit of a disappointment. It hasn't been nearly as good as I think a lot of us thought it was going to be. Now, again, guys, it's only week 2, so we have only so much information at our disposal. I'm not saying that Najee Harris is not going to have a bad season or that he's an NFL bust. I'm saying that right now you can't trust him as a running back 1. It's even hard to trust him as a running back 2. So you really got to monitor this guy closely going forward before you put too much value on Najee Harris's name. All right, guys. So we're going to see what he does this week, and that should be a pretty, enlightening as far as what he's going to do for the rest of the season. But, monitor him closely going forward. All right, Jonathan Taylor has been absolutely terrible so far, guys. His efficiency has been shit. His volume has been down a little bit from what we thought it was going to be. This was supposed to be a running back that was getting 20 to 25 plus carries per week going into the season, and he's supposed to be an elite talent who's getting 100-yard rushing games, and he has been far from that. The volume has been a little bit of a disappointment, and the efficiency has been absolutely terrible. So I am not confident at all in Jonathan Taylor right now. He's a flex option at best. However, he is the workhorse running back for his team. Thus, the volume alone puts him in the top 25. So if you are needing running backs in your running back 2 spot, he's a fine running back 2 just due to his volume. But we want to be kind of careful with Jonathan Taylor going forward because I don't think he's going to be anything near what we expected. Okay, 19, Kareem Hunt. He's a backup running back, but he's one of the most talented running backs in football, running behind one of the best offensive lines in football on a very high-scoring team. Thus, he always has a very good chance to get in the end zone every week. And his efficiency when he does carry the ball is going to be really good. And he catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. You've got to love a dual-threat running back. Somewhat of a tough matchup against the Bears, but nobody could stop the Browns' running game anyway. So when Kareem Hunt comes into the game, the efficiency is going to be there, and he's got a chance to score a touchdown. So you're starting in week 3. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This guy has been a huge, I hate to say it, but he's been a huge bust. being on an offense as good as Kansas City, this dude should be getting in the end zone a lot more often than he has been. So, I'm just a little bit disappointed in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys. But we're starting him. He's in my top 20 for the week. All right, guys, that's it for the video today. These are my top 20 running backs for week 3. Tune in tomorrow for my wide receiver rankings. I'll catch you later.